Low carb isn't a diabetic strategy, it's an avoidance tactic. At least it could be for some of you. So it's important to understand why you're eating low carb. Yes, it can get you nice flat blood sugars, but if it comes at the massive cost of your mental freedom and enjoying life outside of this condition, we've got a problem. You might have been told that it's the only way to get nice flat blood sugars, but I'm guessing that's probably coming at the expense of some great foundational information and frameworks that can help you handle any meal and get great blood sugars. So today we're going to walk through some of the 4 levels of what I call, admittedly a little bit cheesy, the food freedom pyramid. Now this isn't a list of quick fixes. It's an assessment framework that will help you identify exactly where your management is breaking down and why you feel you need to have low carbs in order to get blood sugar management. Now I want to be clear here that I'm not necessarily against low carb. I just want you to find the management strategy that works for you and your type 1 diabetes. For a lot of people out there, low carb or no carb simply isn't a sustainable option. It might work for 2, 4, 6 months, but then they find themselves falling off the wagon and back on the blood sugar roller coaster. I'm Curtis, I'm an ex-paramedic, a type 1 coach here at Level Diabetes, and if you're tired of trading your lifestyle for that 5.5 millimole A1C, stay until the end, where we're going to find out which level of your foundation is actually missing to get the blood sugars you want and eat the foods you want. Quick reminder, I'm a coach, not your doctor. This is for educational purposes, so consult your medical team before making any changes to your management, and let's get into it. The food freedom pyramid is the cheesy name for the 4 things or factors that you need to master in order if you want to be able to eat the foods you want to eat, high fat, high protein, high carb meals all at once, whilst also keeping your blood sugars level. There's no point focusing on level 4, the top of the pyramid, if you haven't mastered the base level, because type 1, there is a sequence to it that you must learn and master in order. So let's crack on here. Level 1 is your foundation. Now you might have heard this, so we'll go through it quick. The first reason your food freedom attempts are failing could be because your foundation is made of sand. If your fasting blood sugars when you're not eating, like when you're sleeping, aren't within a tightish range of around 1.7 to 2.5 millimoles, you probably aren't at a space where you can be testing your meals with any great accuracy. You're testing a moving target. You can't troubleshoot bolusing for complex meals if your basal rate isn't set and stable. You can't do that or start tweaking strategies for complex meals with high fat and high carbs if you're not exactly sure what your carb ratios are or your sensitivity factors are. Most type 1s try to fix post-meal spikes after challenging meals with increasingly elaborate strategies. Split boluses here, delayed boluses there, but they're not really addressing the background needs of their insulin. Until that foundation is solid, we can't expect ourselves to achieve and succeed at complex meals. Even if you do have a perfect foundation, that's great, but you can still hit a wall if you don't understand the hidden impact of everything that's on your plate. That brings us to level 2, the macro blind spot. Now with social media, this is becoming a more and more well understood topic within the type 1 community, which is great. But if you've been taught to only count carbs, I'm gonna say you're a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of understanding what impacts your blood sugars. Because carbs do have the most pronounced impact, but it's only half the story, particularly if you're wanting to eat complex meals with more fats, proteins, and carbohydrates all together. If you are only counting carbohydrate, it leads to 2 common outcomes. Some people default to restricting their diet and really sucking in and reducing and eliminating the amount of carbs they have in their diet because they're unaware of the different impacts that fat and protein have on their blood sugars. Admittedly, those impacts are more complex to bolus for, but not impossible. The second one is that high fat and high protein don't just slow down carb absorption, they actually change how the carbs interact with our body. There's their own metabolic demand that causes delay spikes, 3 to 6 hours, so it changes the way they normally work. So if you bolus like you would for a meal without high fat and protein in a meal that has high fat and protein, you're going to be in for a bit of a messy time. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You have perfect blood sugars for 2 hours post-meal, but then inexplicably, your numbers start walking up to 12 millimoles. It might be while you're asleep and you wake up having to treat a high. It might just be a couple of hours after you've eaten. This isn't necessarily a sign that you have a carb problem. We often jump to that straight away because we think high blood sugars, I didn't count the carbs right. You could actually have an unidentified macronutrient problem where you're not accounting for the impact that fat and protein are having on your blood sugars. Identifying the hidden spikes here of macronutrients in your blood sugars is the only way you can move to level 3 of the food freedom pyramid, which is where you start to build actual personal strategies to combat the impacts of those macronutrients. Level 3 is about moving from guessing to building your own personal strategies. Food freedom and eating what you like and having insulin strategies requires a lot of data. We don't just want to wing it. We don't just want to go, oh, a high-fat meal and vibe it out, if you will, or a high-carb meal with the same and hope for the best results. This level is about documenting your wins and recording your failures so you can create a repeatable strategy. That might include various types of split bolusing, extended waves for specific meals. It might involve using some standard algorithms to calculate additional insulin for fats and proteins. But the reality is all the established strategies out there are general. They're an amalgamation of data from a lot of type 1 diabetics. They're a great starting point, but they need to be tweaked for your specific body and the tech that you're using. Some tech will allow you to function in ways that others won't. So taking generic formulas out there and trying to squeeze them into your situation so you can simply tick a box and say you did the formula isn't the right way to go. When you have this portfolio of success, you've tried, you've failed, you've built up, you aren't guessing at the restaurant anymore. You actually have a proven playbook that you can call upon for your life to get the blood sugars you want while also eating complex meals. But none of these personal strategies or algorithms matter if you panic at the first sight of a rising arrow, which brings us to the very tip of the pyramid, and that is self-trust. I think it's really important to actually talk about this because we often go on about how we have to make so many more decisions as type 1 diabetics, but we don't talk about how to make better decisions. So level 4 is at the core of decision making, at least I think it is, and that is self-trust. It's having the psychological knowledge and safety that makes you able to actually enact the systems that you've built for yourself. So mastering this type of approach in terms of eating complex meals and having strategies, it requires some safe trial and error for you to be able to get to that point. You're going to get it wrong and you're going to get it right. You're going to go low and you're going to go high. This is where you build that self-trust. You know how to treat a low and you know how to treat a high. One bad spike doesn't need to send you running straight back to eating nothing but boiled broccoli and chicken. You need to try and shift your mindset from fearing the insulin to using the insulin as a calculated tool that you learned through your own strategies. Now, I'm not saying this happens overnight. I'm saying we need to build evidence from past experiences that you do have the knowledge and ability and the self-trust to actually achieve by eating what you like with insulin strategies. So what does applying and striving for food freedom actually look like in the real world? The practical application here is realizing that you don't have to eat low carb in order to achieve stable numbers. Don't get me wrong, in the past, before we had more real-time data and CGMs were as accurate and available as they are, low carb was probably the best way to go because we needed to reduce the number of variables in order to get good blood sugars. But by leveraging modern technology and the modern research we have and taking ownership over your own management and education, you can build self-trust and personal strategies that help you tackle any meal, regardless of macronutrient breakdown, and get good blood sugar results. And I'll say it again, there's not a promise that you'll be able to get it right straight away. You're going to have bad days. Instead, this is a roadmap of topics that you must master in order to achieve actual food freedom. So to me, that means you can finally sit down at the dinner table, be completely present with your family and friends, order what you want from the menu, and eat without accepting that you have to go high after this meal or that you have to order something with low carbs on the menu. If you can achieve that, regardless of how you do it, and you're safe and you're happy with that approach and it's sustainable for you, power to you. Food freedom isn't about guessing. It's about having a system that accounts for the variables in your life and can get stable blood sugars for you. If you keep avoiding carbohydrates, you might be choosing a life of restriction over a life of management. That can have physical and psychological costs in the long term, leading to burnout and feeling like you're not part of the dinner table conversation. If that's important to you, that's important to you. So success is being able to eat with your family without staring at your CGM every 5 minutes and keeping blood sugars nice and level. I haven't released full deep dives on these 4 levels because I want to build the tools that you actually need. So comment below and let me know if number 1, 2, 3, or 4 is pressing for you right now or a pretty big challenge. I'll be using your comments to decide which guide to build and release first. So hit subscribe so you don't miss the breakdown on the specific level you're chasing, and I'll see you in next week's video.